Thanks for the warm welcome. A very warm welcome to all of you. My name is Apulak, and it's great to be back with all of you. For many who have, been part of our, this series, it's always great connecting with all of you. Like the typical way we structure our, conversation. So, a 20-25 minute session from my end, followed with a panel with a compelling presentation from our friends at Dell. So before that, I just thought I'll walk you through an area which seems to be the talking point for everyone who's going back to the office, right? And for those who are still, considering how do I manage hybrid work. So I think we're talking about space and time, where workplace has been in the discussion phase for as much as we can remember. So I think, and let's understand, today, and we, like our every discussion, we pick and choose on one particular aspect. So today we saw, and we want to emphasize on how AI is reforming and shaping the workplace that we work in. I think every technology, every theme has its time. There was a time when we used to speak a lot about cloud computing. The time when we spoke a lot of, if you remember, green IT, data center virtualization, and so on and so forth. So I think last year, I mean, not that AI is a new concept. It's been there for a while, but then last year, thanks to technologies such as generative AI, we saw tremendous interest in that area, right? A lot of examples in the consumer space, but today we focus on how it impacts in the enterprise space. But before we walk on to the journey, just wanted to take you a few steps back and understand, when we talk about any tech adoption, there's certain foundation pillars that we finally rely on. So when we speak about digital transformation, right, there are various ways of defining the process. We at Teal define it across three. One is business processes, the other being business strategy. The last but not least are the internal and external stakeholders. So as you can see, I think digital transformation over time, it's about finding the right balance between your customer requirements, your employee needs, and your organizational objectives. So not to suggest that the importance of business strategy or business processes have reduced by any means, but we see over the last couple of years, especially I'm talking about near term, I mean during the pandemic and post the pandemic, and it is the phase that we are living in now, we see a lot of emphasis given to the employee per se. When we speak about internal and external stakeholders, there's a very old American adage which goes that if you treat your customers, if you treat your employees as gold, they'll treat your customers as diamond. I think this comes so true in today's context. So to substantiate my claim, let me draw some numbers here. So every organization has its own reasons for digital transformation processes, right? So when we asked folks like you, what are the reasons that you have deployed certain digital transformation initiatives in your organization, this is how it pans out. So yes, a whole bit is being spent on business agility, operations efficiency, and quite understandably, 71% of the people who took part in this survey said for customer experience. But let's understand one thing, for ages immemorial, we've always seen CX being a very important element of all that we do, but pretty much customer is at the center. But very important aspect of how employees are being seen has come up of late. So if you can see, for numbers to substantiate that claim, employee productivity and employee experience have become of paramount importance, which is why we see a lot of organizations actually spending their IT budgets or their technology budgets in making sure that their employees are productive, and very importantly, that the employee experience is looked into, right? So clear focus. So something that has not happened in the past is something that has come in the forefront. And again, let us understand why this happens, because see, when we talk about a workplace scenario, at the end there are two center pivots, right? One is your employee, the other being the employer, right? And the place where we need to map it is how do I balance between employee preferences vis-a-vis employer objectives. So I mean, if it is lopsided either way, you'll never see dividends, right? So while yes, the list of employee preferences might be long, but as long as it is conveying and achieving the employee objectives, I think we have a win-win scenario. So clearly, as you can see, to highlight some of them, so for instance, when we talk about employee preferences, some of them are, as fellow employees, I'm sure you will concur, be it flexible work styles, automated work processes, smarter devices, and easy and quick access to company resources. While are some of the requirements of employee, to balance it, some of the objectives of for an employer would be very importantly, securing the work environment, boosting employee productivity, and improving device and performance and life of devices. I'll come to this point again. Very important to re-emphasize that, in my view, and I've tracked this market for a while now, I think it's fair to say that device is the new office. You essentially what the pandemic taught us is, there are two things that you really need. A, you need a connectivity, and B, you need a sturdy device, and you can literally allow your employees to work from anytime, anywhere. Very importantly, in a secure work environment. But what it's facilitating, right? And that's the next slide actually. What it facilitates, very importantly, is the employee experience. So, in a nutshell, right, there are four foundation pillars as far as thinking goes in terms of laying the foundation of a genuinely, foolproof hybrid work experience. Is A, it has to have a highly secured work environment. B, focus on enhancing the employee experience and inclusivity. Third, very importantly, which makes the entire concept of hybrid work hybrid, is anytime, anywhere work flexibility. And last but not least, I think that's a point that is not spoken much, but I think it has to be given due consideration, is improved and sustainable work policies. Because for all the first three to be compliant, it's important that we look into the future and we make sure that whatever footprints we plan to foray is for long term. So it's important that we focus on what we are prioritizing, and it's sustainable in the long run. But in today's discussion, like I said, we would like to focus on two key elements, and that's, we see a significant emphasis of AI in these two areas. Is how do I make sure that my workplace of the future is secure, but very importantly, I don't compromise on the employee experience and inclusivity. Some of the ways to do it is obviously through adopting technology, ensuring they have a secure work posture, making devices faster and easy to use, and also, like I said, making it more sustainable is to ensure that your devices have longer life cycle and more better ways to manage the life cycle capabilities, right? So in a nutshell, let's look at this in a way where you have the employee at the center, right? You want to make sure that you don't compromise on the employee experience. So hence, and if you remember 2 slides back, I spoke about the employer objectives and the employee preferences. So here we want to secure our work environment. We want to make sure that they are productive yet not compromise on their user experience. And to augment that entire experience, we have certain new and emerging technologies like edge computing, AR, VR, you have analytics and cloud computing, right? And the use cases are right in front of you. We've seen how we started using AR, VR for employee training and onboarding. We see how analytics is being used for workflow process simplification. But in today's discussion, we'd like to focus more on how AI and automation is helping you, reach that last mile of, improving employee productivity. So to take it further, So let's understand what are some of the workplace challenges that AI is really helping us solve. So as when we talk about the employee experience, there's a lot that goes into it. But before I talk about employee experience, it's important for you to also understand when I speak about AI adoption in an organization, the use case of AI spans across the spectrum of the organization and cuts across the various departments, right? So you have the experience as varied as to reduce operation cost, to reduce information silos, to minimize human errors, to enhance security posture, cut down on processes, and reduce IT teams' burden in itself. So as you can see, the use cases are far, have long-term implications, and it's important also to understand this marries with your employee engagement experience as well, because a smarter device, to call it out, helps you reduce the employee fatigue, and that's one of the large deterrents in terms of keeping your employees productive. So in fact, to take this story further, I think CIO clearly understands and wants to harness the power of AI for all-round good. And to take it a step ahead, like I said, when you talk about employee-oriented objectives, of embracing AI, the list could be fairly long, but in my view, there are 3-4 key areas of how AI is helping you achieve what you want for your employees. Make the entire employee experience personalized, because through various applications, technologies, and particularly smarter devices, you can achieve that. There's a lot of AI ML that goes into it, and when subsequent slide focuses on that, improve the internal operations, build meaningful insights to data, because as numbers suggest, 84% of organizations suggest that they want to make organizations which are data driven, and going forward they expect their enterprises next foreseeable 4 to 5 years to make the enterprises intelligent. So all of this is possible through a sequence of technologies, with AI being pretty much the pivot of it all. So having said so, I think it is like I said, fair to say that to make this a possibility, somewhere device is at the center of it all. And an intelligent device and an AI enabled device helps us achieve, like I said in the beginning, what an employee expects and what an employer expects. It's a balance. Nobody, be it an employee, and more so from an employee standpoint, wants to get stuck to an outdated device. And if you see, there are, I can count here 16 use cases of how a smart or an intelligent device is really coming to the forefront, right? And if you see across these 16 use cases, it is a balance of user experience and employer preferences, right? So for instance, when I talk about device usage analysis, device health monitoring, automatic battery optimization, these are, I don't think an employee, at least the first two, would be really focused on device health monitoring or device usage analytics, but it's very important for a CIO and his team to keep a tab on that. That helps him manage his device lifecycle management. But if you look at the other two, for instance, be it automatic battery optimization, and very importantly, enhanced audio experience for meetings. Now that's the user experience that you're talking about. Similarly, if you see, AI-based auto framing for video conferencing, faster application launch, automatic power setting for customized experience. These are some of the use cases which enhance employee productivity and the employee experience, offsetted by how I manage my devices. For instance, instant Wi-Fi bandwidth adoption. There are times when we are on heavy workloads, applications which are bandwidth intensive. So I'm able to optimize the bandwidth for that. I'm able to connect to remote locations by a faster data transfer through optimized network. So like I said, the use case of AI is all around us. Is how I use it intelligently, quote unquote, is how I ensure that I'm making AI sustainable and making it real time in quick succession. But having said so, I think this is my last and penultimate slide. It's while we talk about AI and the benefits that AI drives, it's very important that we focus on one key element of endpoint security. I think to augment the benefits of AI, I think it's important that we focus on a very critical element of security and more so on endpoint security. Because see, a few years back, when all of us used to be centered around our offices, a lot was being spoken and spent on network security because primary perimeter of work was the office. Now, given the way we have structured our work and we are all across scattered, I think a lot is being done, has to be done around endpoint. So, so just to touch upon this, the new age security capabilities of endpoints have actually grown tremendously. Things like on-screen privacy, automated SSO, machine learning based vulnerability assessments, data encryption, secure device access, automated device lock-ins. Things which were not capable in the past are being built grounds up in new devices. So with this, I'll probably call it a day. But like I said, I think AI at a workplace is a reality that we need to embrace. How we do that are a few things that I will probably request you to mull through. A, understand how scattered is your workplace, and how device dependent are you in terms of how you provision it, right? Do some end user acceptance to understand what are the best use cases for AI to be deployed in the organization. Manage the integration complexities of rollouts of scale, and see whether you have the sufficient budget buy-ins to do what you envisage. So, like I said, this is an ocean which is tough to cover in such a short time span, but I tried doing that. More to come in our panel. So that's it from my end. Thank you so much for your patient listening.